Good morning, students. In my previous class, I have already discussed with you the poem Wind. We have done the explanation of the poem Wind. In today's class, we are going to discuss the various literary devices used in this poem. So, I am sure in class 8, you must have studied some of the literary devices. For example, you must have studied about simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, etc. So we'll just have a quick revision of what are these literary devices. If you wish, you can take a pen and you can make small notes of the definition of various literary devices. Now, what is a simile? A simile is a comparison between two unlike things, two different things, right? For example, when I say she is as beautiful as a red rose, so here I am comparing a girl with a beautiful rose. That is, the beauty of the girl is compared to the beauty of a rose. And in simile, we use words such as like and as to bring the comparison. Okay, for example, once again I repeat the example here. She is as beautiful as a red rose. Okay, so here the word as has been used to bring the comparison. Okay, now moving on to the next literary device, which is metaphor, and very similar to a simile, you can say. There is only a fine line that differentiates a metaphor from a simile. Let us see what is a metaphor. Just like a simile, a metaphor is also a comparison between two different things. Then where is the difference? The difference is that a metaphor is an indirect way of comparing something. Okay, let me take the previous example. When you are applying simile, you will say she is as beautiful as a red rose. And if you want to say it metaphorically, if you want to use the figure of speech or literary device metaphor to say the same sentence, you will say that she is a red rose. So here you can see that the comparison is implied or the comparison is hidden. It is not direct. In simile, the comparison is more direct, and in metaphor, the comparison is implied. It is hidden. Okay, so I hope you have understood simile and metaphor. Now the next one is personification. Now what is a personification? A personification is a figure of speech or literary device, you can say, in which an inanimate or a non-living thing is given some kind of living qualities. Okay, for example, in this poem itself, wind has been personified, isn't it, students? Wind, see, the poet is here talking to the wind. He is considering the wind as a person, which is why he says that you tore the pages of the books, you brought rain again, you are very clever. So here you, and then later on towards the end of the poem he says he makes strong fires roar and flourish, his friendship is good. So here the pronouns used here, you, he, these are pronouns which are actually used to refer to human beings, isn't it? But here the wind, which is something inanimate or something non-living, is referred to having some human qualities. So figures, this literary device personification is what it is, a reference to a non-living thing as a living thing. Okay, now coming to the next one, which is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of the consonant sound. Now mark this, students, consonant, not vowels. Repetition of the consonant sounds in immediate words. Okay, repetition of the consonant sounds in immediate words is called alliteration. Okay, so why do you think that poets, they use all these literary devices? They use these literary devices or the figures of speech to beautify the language. So you can say that literary devices are ornamentation of a language, isn't it? In Hindi you must have studied, or probably you will study in class 9, alankars, right? So literary devices are similar to alankars, ornaments. So it actually beautifies our language, isn't it? So when when you simply say that she is a beautiful girl, okay, and if you say that she is a red rose, so you can see that she is a red rose is a more beautiful construction, isn't it? Which is why poets use different kinds of literary devices to make the poetry more appealing to his or her audience, right? Now let us come directly to the poem itself. Let us discuss the literary devices with respect to this poem. Okay. Now let us see what is the rhyme scheme used here. Is there any rhyme in this poem? Softly. Let us look at the last word of each line. Softly, windows, paper, shelf, down, books. There is no rhyme scheme in this poem, right? So the poem is written in what? It is written in free verse. Okay, F for E, verse, VERSE, verse. Okay, so what is a free verse? A free verse is a poetry written without any rhyme scheme, isn't it? There is no rhyming in this poem. So this poem is written in free verse. Okay, now the next important literary device used in this poem is anaphora. 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 You can write down the spelling here. ANAPHORA. Anaphora. Now what is anaphora? Anaphora is when a particular word is repeated in the beginning of two or more consecutive lines. Okay. For example, you see here in the second line, don't break the shutters of the windows, don't scatter the papers, don't throw down the books on the shelf. So here the word don't has been repeated in 3 consecutive lines, isn't it? So this is an example of anaphora. Okay, is there any other word which has been repeated here in this poem? Let us find out. Yeah, then next line, you tore the pages of the books, you brought rain again. So once again the word you has been repeated here. So why do you think that the poet use such kind of repetitive words in consecutive lines? To lay some kind of emphasis, isn't it? Because here the poet is vehemently is trying to say that you don't break the shutters of the windows, don't scatter the papers. So he's laying emphasis on the fact that the wind should not do all these things, right? Okay, now personification. As I have already discussed you that the wind has been personified throughout the entire poem, isn't it? Wind has been considered as a living entity. It has been given some living entity, characteristics, isn't it? So the poet says that you tore the pages, you brought rain again, you are very clever, he makes strong fires, his friendship is good, he won't do what you tell him. So these are certain words and sentences which tell us that wind has been personified throughout in this entire poem. Okay, now the next literary device used here is repetition, isn't it? Repetition. So the word crumbling has been repeated several times here. You see, frail, crumbling houses, crumbling doors, crumbling rafters, crumbling wood, crumbling. So why do you think the word crumbling has been repeated so many times in this poem? Once again, it has been used to make some kind of emphasis, isn't it? Crumbling, as I told you earlier, that the meaning of the word crumbling is to break. So you break houses, you break doors. So here, the poet is trying to lay emphasis on the destructive forces of wind, isn't it? So here the word crumbling has been repeated so often. Next, alliteration. As I have already discussed, alliteration is a repetition of the consonant sound in nearby words. Now let us try to find out instances or examples of alliteration in this poem. Okay, here we have, see, somewhere in between, the wind god winnows. So here you can see wind god winnows, we, wind, we, winnows, we. So the sound we, okay, is repeated here, isn't it? So the wind god winnows and crushes them all. He won't do what? So woe and wa. Okay, so once again we and woe and wa. So here you can see some kind of repetition of the consonant sounds in nearby words, isn't it? So this is called what? This is called alliteration. Why do you think a poet will use alliteration? Why such kind of arrangement in a poem? So that it gives some kind of, it adds some kind of musical element to the poem, isn't it? Because this is a lyrical poem, so the poet is trying to add some kind of music by using alliteration. Okay, now the last but not the least, symbolism. Very important. Okay, the most important, I should say, the most important literary device used here in this poem is symbolism, because wind here is symbolized, and wind here does not merely mean a natural phenomenon. Okay, what does it mean here? What does it signify? What is it? Okay, let me first explain you what is symbolism. Okay, symbolism is when you are actually representing something with something else. Okay, so here you see the wind is symbolizing what? The wind is symbolizing the challenges, the adversities and the hardships of our life, isn't it? So in this poem, do you think that the poet has addressed wind simply as merely as a natural phenomenon? No, the wind is here a symbol. Okay, symbol of challenges, the adversities and the hardships that we face in our life. Okay, so I hope all the literary devices, you all have understood the literary devices used in this poem. Okay, thank you so much.